I'm Lori Kanata with part two of Reference Services the Perimeter Library Way. We follow RUSA's guidelines for behavioral performance of reference and information service providers. I will briefly cover each one, starting with visibility, approachability. A successful reference transaction requires a high level of visibility. In order to have a successful reference transaction, it is essential that the reference librarian be approachable. This can be challenging if you're having a bad day that involves personal problems, a student or supervisor has worked your last nerve, or maybe you didn't get to eat breakfast or lunch. Still, your body language and tone must not show that. If you're Trekkie, this is like first contact, where you follow certain rules of engagement. The librarian's initial response in any reference situation sets the tone for the entire communication process and influence the depth and level of interaction. So, appear approachable, welcome the patron and make them feel comfortable, smile, make eye contact, give friendly greeting, eye level with the patron, speak in a relaxed tone, and make them feel comfortable that they establish contact with you. Now, some of these things in virtual reference are a little harder to do or absent, so we have to be especially attentive to our greeting and initial commentary. We should always say hello, ask how we may help them, and be encouraging via positive languages and emoticons when appropriate. At this point, let's take a quiz to see how approachable you are. Pause the video and take the attached approachability quiz. Welcome back. Now, what does your score mean? If your score was 40 and above, please let your supervisor know immediately, as you shouldn't deal with the public at all. Otherwise, 31 to 40, you may need to work on it, and anywhere from 10 to 30, you are pretty much an approachable person. Now, let's move on to 2.0, interests. A successful librarian demonstrates a high degree of objective, non-judgmental interest in the reference transaction. Most of us are in this profession because we have a plethora of interests that may translate well with reference transactions. The hard part is remaining non-judgmental when a user's interest is in contrast to our beliefs. I once had to fake non-bias when a student was writing about the good works of the Ku Klux Klan. Luckily, there were not any scholarly resources. Take that. To be interested in the transaction and gather information through asking, you maintain eye contact, give the patron your full information, do not interrupt, signal that you understand by nodding your head, giving brief explanations, or asking additional questions. Paraphrase what the patron requests, using terms they understand, inquire to find out more. On chat, showing interest is a bit harder, but you can do so by remaining in contact, and that means there shouldn't be too many long silences. Let them know you're there, tell them what you're working on. Of course, the best way to show interest is to listen and inquire, which brings up step 3. A third guideline, listening and inquiring. To listen actively, use minimal encouragers to show you are listening by using phrases such as, uh-huh, I see, go on, that's interesting, ooh, tell me more. Anything else? Can you give me an example? As stated before, do not interrupt, but speak in a casual, cordial manner and use appropriate language for that transaction. Inquire with open-ended questions. Ask open-ended rather than closed questions, because an open-ended question is one that solicits more than just a yes or no response. Open-ended questions get the patron to share more information with you. They help you determine how much information is needed, what kinds of sources are needed, find out the level of information required. Is this student a freshman or a graduate student? But Remember to praise them for what they're doing well. Did they already check the catalog? What keywords did they use? Did they come to us for help early? And if they did, let them know that. We get too many that come in hours, if not minutes, before it's due. Some useful open-ended questions. What sort of thing are you looking for? What aspect of X concerns you? What do you mean by X? A handout with more open-ended questions will be provided, and they are divided into categories based on what you need, such as do you need a clarifying question or do you need a more descriptive, definitive type answer. Virtually, you can show minimum encouragers with answers such as okay, sure, go on, tell me more. Don't feel rushed just because you're online. If you're concerned someone is in too much of a hurry for a reference interview, you can ask at least to help them to have a reasonable expectation of how long the transaction is going to take and whether or not you need to get back with them later. In this reference transaction, two things we've talked about, you can see there's a greeting and there's a clarifying question. The question was, I need info on the recession, and the clarifying question, which is important in this case, which recession, because we have different ones every few years. Moving on to searching. Open-ended questions informs where you go on our website to search for the answer. Is it a database? Then which database? You then search. While searching, you can explain what you're doing and why you're using that particular research tool. You find the answer, verify source if needed. Consider transferring once you've done all that you know to do and still can't answer the question to the student's satisfaction. And the final step is follow-up. This is how you determine whether or not the student is satisfied with the answer. This process, you check if the student is happy with what you found. You ask a closing question such as, does this answer your question? Is this enough to get you started? Ask other follow-up questions such as, what else can I help you with today? Although with some students, you may not want to answer that question because we just don't know. We just don't know. But also remind the patron how to get more help, such as, here's my email address if you want to contact me later. I'll be here until 4 and there'll be someone here to help you until 7. If you're on chat, don't be afraid to ask for the person's email or phone number so you can follow up later. Overall, provide the patron with a positive experience. And those are the RUSA's guidelines for reference. Part 3, we will practice reference transactions, so stay tuned.